Hey, Cavs fans, Spencer German, Logan Potosky, along with you as we react to the news of the day, of course. Tristan Thompson set to be suspended for 25 games for testing positive for banned substances in the NBA, violating the NBA's anti-drug program. I believe one of the substances was ibutamorin. There was another very convoluted name for the other one that I'm not even going to attempt to name. But 25 games now, the Cavs will be without Tristan Thompson and Logan. I think the big note here, obviously other than the suspension itself, is just it's kind of another bump in the road for a Cavaliers team that has dealt with so much already on the injury front. Now here they are going to be down another player that's been playing an important role for them this season.
Yeah, certainly so. And I mean, like you were just talking about right there, you've had Darius Garland and Evan Mobley out for both of them an extended period, hoping to get both of them back as soon as we can. But it's just another test, for Cleveland, for all of its sports teams. I know the adage was when LeBron James came back to Cleveland, nothing is given, everything is earned. And they're certainly earning their spot where they are right now, being in the top four in the Eastern Conference. But with a guy like Tristan Thompson, he's just somebody that, he's not going to be the guy that's averaging like 35 a night, but he just gives you that a spark and a veteran presence and a great attitude on and off the floor. And especially on a younger team like this, it is unfortunate to be down that veteran leader who's really been your backup center this season. But now it's probably going to be a time where we're going to be needing to see a lot more of Damian Jones. And I think, unfortunately, this, I guess, is a reason why you make that trade for him this past offseason, getting him from the Utah Jazz.
Yeah, it's you bring up the leadership component of this, and I do think that's a key here because during the offseason, as they were looking to build this roster and sort of complete this roster, that was a point of emphasis. And you could argue, they got rid of Kevin Love last year, and he kind of fit that mold. And Tristan Thompson, you're basically replacing something that you could have just had anyway in Kevin Love if you had kept him around and maybe tried to re-sign him. But I mean, you get the sense that his presence has been invaluable here, and that he's just been a nice addition to that locker room in providing some of that veteran prowess and some leadership, and a guy who obviously knows Cleveland very well to boot. So that certainly is going to be missed for a period of time. The fact that he is your backup center, and you're already sort of shorthanded without Evan Mobley. Not that primarily, I don't think you want Evan Mobley playing center, but him and Jared Allen have kind of shared those duties and spelled each other in spots. And you brought in a guy like Tristan to sort of relieve some of that stress. And now it's going to be more on, like you mentioned, Damian Jones to sort of fill that role. But yeah, I mean, the numbers aren't eye-popping for Tristan Thompson. He's later stages of his career. He's very much a role player. But you're talking about a guy who was playing about a little over 12 minutes for you a night, nearly 4 points a game, nearly 4 rebounds a game. So he was giving you at least a little bit of a spark off the bench. And I don't think that can be understated. So yeah, now it's about sort of banking on Damian Jones here almost until you do get Evan Mobley back, and then Tristan Thompson on the other side.
Right. Yeah. And just considering that position with Mobley, he's been out for quite a while now. That depth there is a bit thin when you take Thompson out of the fold, because really your only two true big men that you have now are Jared Allen and Damian Jones. So I don't know if maybe you might be seeing more of the smaller lineups, which I know that we've been able to run recently. George Niang off the bench has really taken off, and he's really turning into that player that the Cavs wanted him to be when they got him in free agency this offseason. So perhaps that might be a case where I don't know if you're going to need George Niang to play any of the five, but with his size, maybe you kind of put him in a small ball lineup when you need to give Jared Allen some kind of a break.
Yeah, and you certainly feel like the one benefit that the Cavs have and that they've proven this year is that they are a very deep team. And credit to Kobe Altman for assembling this group, putting this team together. He sort of saw the vision. He knew the areas they needed to address. Backup center was one of them. But you bring in guys like Max Strus, you bring in guys like George Niang, who have provided a spark off the bench. Sam Merrill, who's been obviously that sharp shooting 3-point shooter that they've been looking for. So it does feel like, you lose Tristan Thompson here for a stretch of games. but you feel like you kind of have this resilient group and a deep group that's just going to keep fighting, and we'll see if they can keep this win streak alive, obviously up to 8 games now.
Yeah, I mean, they're the hottest team in the NBA right now, and well, your schedule unfortunately isn't getting any easier. You're going to be taking on a Milwaukee Bucks team back to back on the road that is probably going to be fully healthy. I know that they didn't have the Greek Freak when we last played them, but after what we did to them in the last time that we faced them, getting him back and he's in that big man spot, him and Brook Lopez, that is a formidable duo, one of the most formidable in the NBA. So Cavs going to have their hands full, but the way they've been playing right now, I'd put them up against anyone in the league.
Yeah, you mentioned the 2 games against Milwaukee on the road here coming up Wednesday and Friday. Sort of feels like a middle of the season sort of barometer stretch for the Cavaliers with this sort of banged up group. See if this thing is really viable or if it was more about the opponents that they've played to this point, because I know that's a big topic of discussion right now. But certainly like to see them and how they stack up with that Milwaukee team. But you do feel good about what's kind of lying ahead. Yes, you lose Tristan Thompson now, but on the contrary, there's a chance that you get Darius Garland back here in a couple weeks. I know he's targeting kind of an end of the month return. Evan Mobley, I'm imagining some point after the All-Star break into February. So I think the fact that this group has proven they're resilient, the fact that they have another sort of hurdle thrown at them, we'll see how they deal with it. But the resilience, I think, comes up and is important down the stretch of the season. And as they start to get some of these guys back, we'll see how they sort of get reacclimated and where they're at. I guess the point I'm trying to make is they're going to be getting healthy and getting sort of back to full strength. It feels like at the right time of year down the stretch of the season, February, March into April. And if you're a Cavs fan, that's about the best you can ask for with a team that we thought a little over a month ago really had no shot.
Exactly. And I do think that All-Star break is going to serve them well. It is, I think, coming at an ideal time. You're hoping that this win streak goes as long as it possibly can, and who's to say that it won't? But, just less than a month or so, it's just going to give everybody time to just rest, recover, especially those 2 stars. And when you get them back, if this depth can remain anything like it's been over the past month or so, with Mobley and Garland back in the fold, I mean, you are instantly turning into a very powerful team in the league that, you're trying to get past that first round that you were in last season against the Knicks. And, you made a couple of new splash additions in free agency for a reason. They've been performing very well. I think Damian Jones has been fairly efficient off the bench, but I think just for him, this is a chance to really shine for him. He's getting his opportunities, and he's going to be showing Cleveland, hopefully, exactly why they made the move to get him.
We will see if Damian Jones can fill that void. Maybe not the leadership void. We talked about that sort of at the beginning of this. Just Tristan Thompson's so important from that standpoint. But 25 games now, he'll be suspended. We wrote it down here. He'll be due back Saturday, March 16th against the Houston Rockets, which, Logan, you mentioned is 3 days after his birthday. So the last game he has to miss in the suspension is actually on his birthday. Same birthday that you have as well, ironically enough. So he'll be right around his birthday. He'll be able to have a chance to come back and play for this team. But we'll see what happens in the weeks leading up to that, whether or not Darius Garland's good to go, Evan Mobley's good to go. And hopefully this team keeps the win streak going. Like I mentioned, it's 2 games back-to-back. I guess not back-to-back nights, but back-to-back on the schedule. Milwaukee on Wednesday and then again on Friday. And we'll see if they can push this thing to 9 or even 10 straight wins, given the current group that they've had. We appreciate you guys jumping on in with us to react to the Tristan Thompson suspension news. You can read about it over at CavsInsider.com, and be sure to continue following along with content like this at the Cavs Insider YouTube channel, plus at CavsInsider.com. We'll talk to you guys again soon. Until next time, keep on following along.